There are few things more powerful than being seen, not just noticed, but truly seen for your labor, your sacrifice, your presence. Think about the people we pass every day: nurses, medical assistants, orderlies, home care workers, people who clock in while most of us are still asleep, people who witness birth and death and everything in between. For decades, they've been asked to do it all in shapeless, rough, utilitarian uniforms, scrubs that barely breathe, never fit, and certainly don't reflect the dignity of the work they do. And yet, no one questioned it until Heather Hasson did. In this episode of Confessions of a Female Founder, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, sits down with the woman who revolutionized the medical apparel industry, not through hype, but through heart. But before we dive in, I want to offer you a thought. Sometimes the most radical kind of design is dignity. And that's what Heather built with figs. Welcome. This is Majesty's Sussex Report, and I'm Antonio. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time here with us. Let's start at the beginning. Heather didn't have a background in fashion. She didn't walk into this with a Harvard business plan. What she did have was a moment watching a friend come home from work in baggy, threadbare scrubs, and it didn't sit right with her. So, what did she do? She started sewing. She made 10 pairs of scrubs herself, and then she grabbed a folding table, a box of products, and a jug of hot chocolate or maybe coffee, and set up shop outside a hospital. Shift after shift, nurse after nurse, ER to ER.
Honestly, I still do think I'm in the minutia, and I think that is the key to success sometimes. I think you have to ebb and flow from 0 feet, right? Boots on the ground, all the way to 60,000 feet. It's a really hard skill set to master, but I think it's key for success. I'm chasing mail trucks, I'm sitting in hospitals, I'm selling out of hospitals. That's how we sold. I sat there and I sold right in front of a hospital, in front of an ER at 7 in the morning and 7 at night.
Heather also talks about grief, the loss of her first business partner to cancer. That loss didn't stop her, it moved her. She began donating scrubs to medical workers abroad. That small act of humanity became the soul of her brand. This is what building with purpose looks like. Not building a product, but a movement. Heather's story teaches us a few critical lessons. One, you don't need industry credentials. You need to care and care deeply. Two, she didn't wait for investors. She waited for shifts to change. So she got right to work. And three, when you're rooted in empathy, your product reflects that, right? I read a book once that said the culture of an organization starts from the top. And I've worked in a few organizations, and I'll tell you, it's been quite interesting because the book was right. You can have a CEO or the person who runs the organization who says all the right things in front of the camera in regards to policies of the company that are highlighted on the website so people can see it. But the reality is a different one. So if the CEO or the owner of the company, the principal, is saying all these good things like they believe in empathy, they believe in diversity, they believe in equal opportunity, all these social wonderful things that we may believe make a workplace and a business really good. But once the camera is off, if that owner, CEO, entrepreneur is just none of those things, then that culture doesn't reflect. So that number three has always fascinated me because I have seen so many people within the business industry who will verbatim narrate what the company means by empathy, what the company means by taking care of each other. But when it comes down to bottom line, they fail, fail, and fail. I think a lot about how many invisible workers keep our world running and how they may feel overlooked or are overlooked until someone like Heather reminds us you can be both practical and powerful. It sort of seems that for a lot of people, this idea of being practical and powerful is a contradiction. And I would argue that it isn't, right? Because let's take, for example, when Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, launched her Netflix series. And this whole problem about, well, why is she being quote unquote domesticated in some kind of odd sense or odd way? Um, why is she doing a cooking show? Like she has this platform. Why isn't she doing something more revolutionary about feminism or activism or something like that? Some people, whether they truly meant it or not, but they did publish it, were questioning her feminism, her 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 feminism, her activism within the feminist movement. And I honestly found that quite insulting. Not the statement itself, but for a woman to make that statement is radically idiotic because then you are judging and saying that feminism, by definition of what you are defining it by, is one thing, and only one type of thing will qualify you or classify you as a feminist. So it is absolutely idiotic to think, well, are you saying to me I can't be a feminist and a homemaker? I can be a feminist, but also enjoy, um, I don't know, taking care of my spouse? Like it defeats what feminism to me is. And to me, feminism is the woman having complete autonomy to make the decisions that she wants to make. What is good for her? Feminism allows that, or argues that should be the case. Equality, right? Feminism is, by definition, a social, political, and cultural movement and an ideology that advocates for the equality of all genders, with a particular focus on addressing and challenging the historical and systemic inequalities faced by women. It seeks to promote equal rights, opportunities, and treatment for women in all spheres of life, including legal, economic, social, personal. So that idea that, oh, well, why is she doing a show and she's doing like, what was the thing? The trud wife or whatever it's called now, traditional wife. I, I, I find, and this, forgive me, if I you know may step on people's sensitivity here on this topic a little bit, but I find all of this stuff sometimes utterly ridiculous in the championing and trying to get to a place that I think we as humanity would like to go to. There are elements that, for some odd, weird reason, want to apply to one's activism, one's humanity, a certain puritanical test. We are human beings with diverse experiences throughout life that will um, um, teach us and form the opinions and ideas that we have. And something as silly that absolutely frustrates me is when people say, for example, um, "Oh well, this person's running for the Democratic Party or for and they will run this whole puritanical test to see if they can look. Listen, there's certain things, obviously. You don't want to do like what the Republicans did at one point. They were running an essay person down south is that they didn't take him off the ballot. Now you see the Republicans go to that extreme, and I think the Democrats go to the other extreme, where you need to be like the Virgin Mary or something. So that whole um, people being confused as to why she's doing the show, and oh, it's not revolutionary. Oh, it's nothing new. It doesn't mean she's less of a feminist. In actuality, I think she's even more so shown that she's a feminist because she's taking things that she enjoys, commoditizing it, right, and making a living from it. It's like when people say, "Oh well, a a lady who dances at night on a pole." You know what I'm getting at here. Well, that's disgusting. That person's not a feminist. That is a feminist, my friends. That is a feminist. Absolutely. So I think I'm stuck on this argument. So I'm gonna step off of it, step off of it. But it is this dichotomy of people who um, don't quite get that a person can be both things, right? I can still exercise power and still be practical about certain things. Look, the practicality, like an example I give in one of the last podcasts, of being an owner and being able to call in an employee because they're not performing at the level you expect them to, right? And be very stern, very direct about your expectations and that person not achieving those expectations, and setting out a roadmap to say, here is how I want to see you improve. And if we don't get there, unfortunately, you'll not be part of this team. And you have to be practical in order for the business to run. You can't just have people taking 2 hours lunch breaks, right? So practicality and having or being powerful, they don't discount each other. They both go hand in hand. Once again, thank you for being here. Every time you watch, comment, or share, it means more than you know. I pour my heart into this work because I believe in it. And clearly, if you're here, something brought you to, and it's not my pretty face. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment. Click that button. It's free and it makes a real difference. And hit the notification bell so you will be one of the first people to be notified when something new and meaningful goes up. If you feel moved by what we're building, consider going a step further. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link and a membership option if you'd like to help us keep this going strong. It's like lighting a little candle for something you believe in. And whether you're here quietly or loud and proud, leave a comment if you can. It helps the message travel. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you. Thank you. I absolutely love those scrubs and the colors, and there's lots more, but I just wanted to show you folks sort of a sample, a little fashion show. So throughout the podcast, I I was taking notes and I came up with I guess what I'm calling sort of pocket lessons, right? These that you can take with you, and even I would say easily executable for any entrepreneur. Or sometimes these are things or advice we can just implement in our own lives. So I've got about 5 of them, and they were in one of the shorts that I did today. So let's see. Um, Number one, find the gap no one respects and treat it with reverence. So find that thing that people are not paying attention to, right? And give it the care that it needs. It's sort of like a person. If you see, for example, an employee, right, that is constantly doing everything, the person gets no thanks, and you start to pay attention to that employee, and you start to say, "Thank you. That was great. That's wonderful work. I can guarantee you that employee will start giving you 1,000%, 1,000% in return. But for this particular example that I'm going to give you, I wanted to find something more in the business sort of environment. And Sarah Sarah Blakely, um, she's the founder of uh, what's the name of the company again? Spandex? No, it's not Spandex. It is Spanx. Sorry, I thought I had I had the note right in front of me, and I don't. Spanx. It is Spanx. Um, so Sarah saw a gap in the shapewear industry that no one was talking about, right? And she she didn't come from a fashion background or a business school, but she knew that this was a sector that was being underserviced, that people were not giving much care to. So she kind of just cut the feet off of her pantyhose in her apartment, and from that built a $1 billion company, really, by treating women um, with respect, right, and giving them something more comfortable to wear. So, I mean, that is a perfect example of find a gap no one respects, right? Who's talking about undergarment and shape garment and all that kind of stuff at that time, anyways? Not many people. And she just found the entry into that market, and she treated it with respect. And the respect went to women's body, the materials that went into Spanx in order for it to be comfortable, right? So the second one is build with your emotions, not against them. When she sort of said that, that really surprised me because many times entrepreneurs, business leaders will say, no, 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 keep your emotions aside, right? But she's basically saying lean into it, which really surprised me. So build with your emotions, not against them. So Heather's grief gave her purpose. It didn't paralyze her. Right? She wanted to do something now to, her business partner had passed from cancer, and it was interesting because her going. I think it was in Kenya. Going to Kenya is where she saw the doctors and nurses and so on not wearing scrubs, and she's like, "Well, why not?" And I'm not saying one thing related to another, but it's all very right. When they say, for example, your fate, your destiny, it's meant to be on a certain pathway. That certainly indicates that because from the passing of her business partner, which at the time I'm sure it was just devastating, but from that devastation, an idea, and now a $1 billion business, really. So don't. What I'm understanding that she's saying, don't try and suppress the emotion. Lead with it, because sometimes that gut feeling. Also, if we go back to that thing, sometimes that gut feeling will give us an answer, right? And ignoring it is not a good thing. So for this one here, the example that I thought I would bring you is Joe Gebbia. He's the co-founder of Airbnb. Airbnb was born out of Joe's experience struggling to pay rent and wanting to offer travelers a more human, welcoming experience. What began with an air mattress and empathy per se turned into $100 billion plus platform based on trust and emotional connection. Incredible, right? I mean, be honest. Did any one of you really sort of thought when you heard this ridiculous idea or this ridiculous thing that people were going to rent out their their property for you to vacation there, and they still have their clothes and and, and what's not still in their house, or for some people who just rented a room in their house or in their condo or apartment or so on. I i i didn't think anyone would sort of, I mean, if anyone had told that idea to me, I'd be like, no, I don't think so, right? Because of all of the trust issues and so on, and security and safety and all of that. And then we have Uber, right? And I think before Uber, there was another company that, I don't remember now, but there was another company also that did something similar. And who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk that we were, most of us was going to accept that we're going to get into a stranger's car, not a taxi, a stranger's car, and trust that that stranger was going to drive safely and take us to where we were going. It is just, I mean, the whole sort of idea of this sharing economy, right, is incredible. And it's sort of things that we didn't think before people would want. And people obviously, right, have uplifted those those businesses. So in this one here, the emotion is built into the experience that one has created. That experience of home, that experience of hosting someone, right, and not being at a hotel. So the next one, number three, if the door doesn't open, set up a table outside it. I thought that was just genius, because I thought what was going to be said is, if the door doesn't open, build another room or something like that. Because you know how we say sometimes, if they don't give you a seat at the table, man, no one gives anyone a seat at the table. Let's make that clear to start with. If when the opportunity presents itself and you deserve that seat on the table and it's not awarded to you, right? What is said is, then you go build your own table. Build your own table. Because as I've said many times on this podcast, look, there aren't a lot of people who are going to give up their seat at the table for any of us. For any of us, they will say they will. They will say they will, but they're not going to. Okay, so that was sort of interesting. So you don't need to get in. Maybe perhaps being outside of the door also is an opportunity. I thought that was just incredible. So the example I found for that is Damon John. So he's the founder of Fubu. Damon John couldn't get major retailers to carry Fubu, so he sold hats on the streets at the corner in Queens. Used sort of this guerrilla marketing, and he partnered with the people who he thought, okay, they're plugged into to culture, right? And culture look up to these people. And that would be Ladies Love Cool James. That would be LL Cool J. That's right. So that is an example, right? of when the doors are not being open, then you need to create your own opportunity. Same thing like Jamie Kerr Lima from It Cosmetics. No, 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 and no. And having being in a boardroom with a bunch of people and having the CEO, whomever, just say, no, no, it's a no, just shut up. No. When you ask why, they're like, you, who would buy cosmetics from you? I mean, come on. Talk about unnecessary. But then you have to go and create those opportunities. And as she said, even, she said, look, I didn't stop. But not only did she not stop, she wrote them a thank you letter, a thank you card. Incredible, right? Just creating that space of positive reinforcement, positive thoughts, positive energy that will guide her towards the opportunity. All right, so the next one, partner with someone who compliments you. Her co founder said, I'll do anything you don't want to. That's alignment. And I think that is where the sort of sweetness lies, right? She said, I will do anything you don't want to do. So it's not two minds that are thinking exactly the same way. And I think I said in one of the other podcasts, when you're looking for that yin and yang kind of relationship, you don't want someone who's completely opposite to you. I think you still have to function, right? Still have a business to run. You're looking for someone who, I think, on the fundamentals of how to communicate, you both have pretty good alignment with that. But the rest is that person being 100% sincere, is that person giving you the full story. They're telling you exactly what they're thinking and are looking out for you also, right? They're not sabotaging the things that you're actually doing. So looking for that partner, that's someone who compliments you. And I think that even goes in romantic relationships many times. You know, they say, oh, opposite attracts to a certain point, right? Because the things that you may find endearing and funny at the beginning of a relationship, a couple of years into it, then you start to find them annoying. Um, so the fundamentals, I think, need to have clear understanding of what those are, and communication is a big one. I think it was Valentino who said, um, the designer. Valentino was on the brink of going bankrupt many times. I think he actually went bankrupt maybe once or twice or something like that. But when he met um, his partner, his partner is very business brain, right? Numbers, the business. Valentino is the creative. Valentino is the design and the colors and the fit and all of that. And him and his partner basically, because the yin and yang again, were able to take a close to bankrupt design house to bring it back to hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So that is the part that's really important, is knowing how to play to what is um, to your assets, to what you are good at. The one that I found was Ben and Jerry's. So Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, founders of Ben and Jerry ice cream, had zero business background, but had a vision and passion. Jerry was more methodical and financially minded. Their partnership thrived because they respected their different strengths, right? So that is what she's talking about when she's like, find someone who's going to complement you. Doesn't mean you're finding someone who thinks like you. All right, so this one here, this is the last one, the fifth one, is decommoditize the the overlooked. Make the ordinary thing sacred, right? So make that ordinary thing be important. Here's the example that I found. So when you think of James Dyson, who's the founder of Dyson vacuum cleaners, now he took something that was quite boring, a vacuum cleaner, right, and sort of this on this forgettable appliance, and he took it and turned it into this high performance design looking forward object of pride. He spent years perfecting the sort of cyclone technology and made engineering aspirational, right? So we may have something already that is just mundane, like who cares, and but there may be an opportunity not only to make it better but to make it more sleek. One of my friends, actually, this is funny, at least I thought it was funny. So she she was in the market to buy or lease a car, and she spent a week going to different dealerships, blah blah blah, doing the thing. And then I got a call, and she's like, I did it, I got the car. It's like, okay, that's great. And she's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm blah blah blah. She's like, okay, I'm coming. Let's go have ice cream or something. I was like, okay, great. So she showed up in a Volkswagen, like the one of the Beetle Volkswagen. And I was like, holy macaroni. I was like, I love this car. Right? So got into the car, and I like, what possessed you? I thought you were gonna get this other car. And she said, the packaging. I went, what? She was, the packaging. She go, it was so nicely how they presented the stuff, and this came in this, and this came in this certain thing, and that. She goes, it was just so beautiful. And I'm like, but is the car? She goes, I don't care. The packaging. I mean, she did. She did care. But it honestly, it goes to show, right? So you would think, well, spoons are spoons, forks are forks, knives are knives. I was at a one of a kind um, exhibition, and a bunch of us went, and you see some of the most beautiful, and there was these spoons, like so beautifully done, so delicate, and it's almost like a chopstick, but then it's like it's a spoon, and it has this silvery finish to it, but then there's this sort of light, what came in different colors, light blue or green or red, um, matte sort of paint almost onto it. And I just thought, this is so beautiful. And I'm like, how much is that? When I heard the price, I went, that's why it's so beautiful. Okay, thank you. And I walked away. I was like, I can't pay that much for forks and spoons and knives. I'll just keep with the traditional old school thing. So those are, I think, the five um I think pocket lessons that I was able to take out as I was listening to the podcast. So, find the gap no one respects, that thing, right? And make it respectable. You show respect, you show dedication to it, you say thank you, you put the best materials onto it, right? Build with your emotion, not against it. If you feel it a certain way about something, go with it. Go with it. Don't deny it. Don't suppress it, because suppressing emotions, ooh, not a good thing. Three, if the door doesn't open, set up a table outside. Look for other opportunities. No matter how many no's, if you absolutely trust in what you've got, right? Go for it. Because she said the same thing that Jamie said. I think she said she was meeting with some investors or something like that, and they were using these business technical terms, and they were like, "Oh, well, the IPO, da, 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 and it's only like it's only 5%," and she's like, "No, no. I mean, you may not see it, but I see it. It's not 5%. It's a full 100, buddy, right?" She trusted in her vision, and so did her business partner, right? And four, partner with someone who compliments you, not someone who is there to kiss your, you know what, or is going to like think exactly the way you think, but someone who you can really have a true partnership and have disagreements, but work on finding solutions, trusting in each other, but also as both of them, Megan also said this, get your hands dirty. As she said, one of their first orders went out, and the guys kept calling, and they're like, well, why is all these guys calling back with the scrub stuff? So when she sort of spoke with them, and they're like, well, there is a problem right around the area, and she's like, this is an area, but so when she looked at it, they had stitched the thing wrong backwards. So they stitched the lady's front onto the man's front, and we don't have the same front. We need space. So she couldn't afford to like just replace them. She had to, she said she took all of them apart, whatever they could salvage, and just sew them back again, right? So having a partner that will be there and help you with all of that, but also being able to get your hands dirty, right? You're not above any of the work. If you're not entrepreneur, this is your baby. This is your this is the thing that you want to see succeed, right? And you have to show the passion for it. De-commoditize the overlooked, right? So looking at the ordinary things that people may just not pay attention to, but you can find something special in it. You can redesign it, make it slick, make it modern, make it sexy, and all of a sudden present it back and say, well, this is of importance. You make it now something sacred that is just beautiful, and something that is now desirable, and you charge $3,000 for it. Right? Beautiful. I really hope that will help, because I certainly think that you know I will put any of those in place when opportunity presents itself. Heather isn't just a founder, she's a disruptor in the most loving sense of that word. She she didn't say let's dominate the market. She said let's serve people better. These are people in medical service to help us and our health. Let's serve them better. In a world full of brand chasing, um, virality, figs chase value, and that value created loyalty, impact, and community. I think so many people miss that, right? They miss the power of that. And many times, these very, very large businesses um, miss it completely. Now, once you scale and you get bigger, I don't know how much you're still able to keep that sense. But I think with the right people at the head, right, because they determine what the culture is going to be, the possibilities are there. Disruption doesn't always look like fire and fury. Sometimes it looks like a woman with a folding table and a box of scrubs on a cold sidewalk saying, "You matter, you deserve better. Let me prove it. I have chocolate over here, hot chocolate and coffee and some scrubs. Okay. Oh, you coming? Okay, go hey, right? Give me a chance here. Give me a chance." So here's what I am taking away with me today. Heather didn't just make better scrubs. She reshaped how we think about the people who wear them. Throughout the podcast, she kept saying that, right? And if you're listening, wondering how to begin, wondering if your idea is too simple or too small, remember, the most overlooked problems are often the most powerful opportunities. Honestly, start with care, right? Start with care. Start with humanity. Start with a folding table and something honest to offer the world. Because you never know. You just never know. You know, this last sort of sharing an experience, I we were hosting a women entrepreneurial um, for 4 days in our office, and at my former job. And these were women that were we were preparing them to head to India and Southeast Asia and so on, because opportunities that exist there that may um, take their business to the next level. And for many of them, understanding the culture, the do's and the don'ts, and how to sort of react to certain things, behavior, and all of that. My role in our team was to create the experience for these women who were going to be in our office for 4 days, 4 consecutive days. So I looked at the program we were going to deliver, look at the material, made some suggestions to change certain things, and then I went off and designed what the experience would look like. How from the very first contact we have with them, do we send them an email? Do we send them a visual video? Do we send them a conventional card? Or do we do what Meghan did in London, right? Where the preserves were delivered hand delivered by um, a person dressed sort of like a butler. So I designed that experience, and I'm not going to get into all the stuff that I did for each different day. But by day two, no, 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 I'm lying. Day three, four of the women came up to me and they said, "Can we talk to you, Antonio?" And I thought, okay, because this is the way I am. I'm like, what did I miss? I must have missed something. Ooh, okay, let's go. And they said, you have made us rethink the importance of client experience. All four of us had client experience at the very lower end. Not like we don't want our clients to have a good experience, but it wasn't something we thought out. It wasn't something that we were planning and in detail. You know, we have a product. We trust in our product. We know it's a good product. So the whole emphasis is on the product, and we're going to sell the product, but not the experience of the person purchasing the product, how they're going to receive it. You see what Megan did. Megan thought about all those things, and that's why I said I feel connected to Megan, because my brain thinks the same way. My brain is always thinking, how can I make this experience from A to B to C to D to E to F? How can I make that a journey, an experience that that person will remember in a positive way? Because we remember experience. Remember what Maya Angelou said, right? You will forget all the other stuff, but you'll never forget how a person made you feel. And we know that is so true. So true. I still remember things from, I mean, I don't remember a lot, but I will remember things that were like when I was 3 years old. I'd be like, I have this memory about this because of the way they made me feel. And it was such um, a compliment. And I said to them, I said, well, what would you like to know? And this like, how did you come up with all this stuff? How did you know that when we were having lunch, we should actually learn about this other ways and culturally how does it? I said, well, it's my job to make sure you are prepared, right? And I sat down with them. This was after the session was over, um, and showed them binders that I had with planning every single meticulous thing that would happen. And by the time, like, I'm there at 6 a.m. in the morning. This is happening at 6:30. At 7, the welcome committee arrives. There about 7:15. I want everyone in their uniforms at 8, like in detail. And they all just looked and said, "Wow, this actually is important." And they said, "We are going to revamp our entire business plan and focus or give more focus than we were doing before to client experience, because it is so important." Because they were even saying they're like, each day, at the end of the day, we would be thinking, we wonder what Antonio has prepared for tomorrow. Ooh, so excited. They're like, we're more excited to know what you had prepared than having sort of like the technical stuff of the program, right? Of learning like that. Well, you have to have this application for this business and that application, and make sure you get a stamp by the Ministry of so and so. They're like, we're just like, what's Antonio doing tomorrow? It was such a great compliment. So in all of this, she found the one thing that she cared. And in client experience, you have to care. I cared enormously about the people who are in my ecosystem. I want them to be happy. I want them to have a good experience. I want them to feel appreciated. I want them to feel loved, that I've taken care. I mean, as soon as they walked into our office, I had this big flat screen and it said, welcome. From here on, we are going to take care of you. Don't worry about anything else. Because we know how much women, I know how much women put in every single day. And part of my goal was to make sure that once they arrived in our space, I wanted them to not think about any of the worries. I wanted to take care of them like they were at a spa, but learning stuff. And that the experience that they would have would be one of just, I think this is my cue to stop because I'm missing words. So I'm going to stop. I really hope that you've enjoyed my take on the podcast and the sort of learnings, and I hope you can take away something today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you're inspired. Okay, inspired, and share, and if you have this great idea or something you want to do, trust in yourself. Okay. All right. Da 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 da. And this is the end, my friends. Thank you for being here. I love you all. You are great, 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 great people. Thank you. I appreciate it much. Bye bye.